Help yourself, take a few, that's what I want you to do.
I was born at the beginning of the war in a little village just outside Pontypridd. Also, just up the road, another baby, when the war baby was born as well. His name was Tommy Woodward. And we both were more or less born about within 6 weeks of each other. But little did I know then that our paths would cross tremendously in years to come after that, you know, because it eventually became Tom Jones, of course. When I was about 4 years old, and my father was an accomplished pianist and piano tuner and repairer. It was a revelation to find music. My first idea of what was happening with music was, as I said, there was only the radio and a gramophone in the house. So one Saturday night, my parents took me to the town hall theatre in Pontypridd, where it was a pantomime going, a Christmas pantomime. And the band struck up, but I had never seen these instruments before. You know, they were in the orchestra pit, and it was like a revelation because I've never seen it, only from the radio. I didn't know where these sounds generated from the radio. And then I saw these guys dressed in black suits and black bow ties blowing away on these silver blooming things, and I realized then that that was making the music, and I never forgot that. I was about 4 years old then, and that really struck me. And so that was my first interest, if you can call it that revelation. And then as the years went by, my father had a big selection of records, of 78s of all the big bands and everything. So I used to play that on a wind-up record player. As a teenager, I went to Horton School, which is down the road there, and left school and started a job as a compositor in the Pontypridd Observer. My father brought me a guitar when I was about 16, a Spanish guitar, and so I really got into music then. I was about 18 and I was learning to play the guitar, but there was no one else around to play the guitar. So I heard that this guy was playing in a pub called the Wheat Chief, getting up and playing a few songs there. He played a guitar as well, a Hawk guitar, Spanish guitar, and I thought I'd go up there and into the pub and see if I could glean a few chords from him and learn something, you know. So I went in there, and sure enough, he was upstairs, and there was a row of seats there upstairs in a pub, little pub in Pontypridd. And on he loped. He came up, behind me like that. I was sitting down and took his guitar and started playing and singing. I thought, whoa, damn good voice, he was really good. And he only played for about 20 minutes. I just left. I had no intention then of forming a band. So I only was, at that stage, wanted to find out more about the music. So that was my first, the first time I ever met Tom Jones was in that pub there. About a few years later, I thought, well, it would be a good idea to form a little band. So I got in touch with a couple of guys from the development who I knew played guitars, and we formed a little trio called the Senators. From there, we added a drummer and a singer, so it became a 5-piece band then. So we were doing really well towards the end of 1960 then, that was. So we were on television, doing a few things like that and getting a reputation and everything. And we had what we had was a Friday night in the YMCA in Pontypridd. And we had a residency there on the Friday, as well as doing all the dance halls and everywhere. And but our singer became a bit disillusioned with the band and playing in the YMCA as well, because it was for youngsters there as well, and he was a little bit older than us. So he wasn't coming along to rehearsals and not turning up at a few gigs. One night on the Friday, he hadn't turned up again, so during the interval, I rushed through town because I knew this guy called Tommy Woodward would be in a pub on a Friday night, who was playing the clubs as a solo singer with a guitar, playing a few chords and things like that, and I'd seen him a few times. And so I went to the pub, and sure enough, he was there at the bar. So I asked him if he would like to earn a couple of quid by filling in the second half. So he finished his pint and came up and did the second half, and it was really good, It was a knockout. So from then he joined the band. that was a start. That was the beginning of it. After we've been together, after Not Unusual had come along, and you know, we sort of made it, and that was in 1965, and we were still together as a band, Jones The Squires, until 1968, when we had a tour of America, a 7 or 8 week tour of America, starting off with Florida, and then Copacabana in New York, there for a few weeks, then LA for a week or so, and then a month's residency in the Flamingo in Las Vegas. And we were doing 2 shows a night there in April '68. Everything was going really well, and he was packed the crowds there and everything, and he had a good old time. But between the shows, one was about 9 o'clock, and the other was about 11. We changed our clothes, you know, of stage gear, and I happened to be going out where they played the one-arm bandits, you know, rows of them there, just to pass the time, putting a few coins in. And I put the coin in, and I was just about to pull the arm back, and I just, for some reason, looked around. I don't know why. And there's a red carpet coming along like that, and right from the entrance. And for me, I turned around, and it was Elvis walking along with his entourage, you know, the mafia and everything, and Priscilla just behind him. Well, you know, my mouth dropped, of course, and he sort of passed by, flowed past, and sort of gave me a wicked wink, you know, because he could see it. I was like that, stunned, and off he went. So I could not believe it, you know. I thought I was imagining things here. So we went, went past, and there wasn't many people in the foyer there. I was only just myself and a few others, so there wasn't, everybody wasn't around him, you know. Anyway, he went into the offices, the manager's office, and that was it. So I, completely stunned, ran backstage into Tom's dressing room, and I burst in. You know, usually you sort of give a knock if there, you don't know what he's up to, you know. And so I just burst in and I said, "You're not going to believe this. Elvis is here. Elvis is in the building." And he went, and he was sitting there doing his makeup or whatever he was doing, and he said, "Go on, get out of it, you know. Yeah, put the other one, Vernon." And I said, "Elvis just walked past with Priscilla and, you know, and the entourage and everything like that, and he's here tonight." And he said, "You get in." And I said, "No." So he jumped out of his seat like as if a wasp had hit him in the bum, and panicking, of course. So we were in the wings waiting to go on, and Tom was saying, "Oh, you know, we've got to do a good job tonight." And there was no, he didn't have to ask us that, of course. I say that to us because we were on pins, you know, we were really rolling. And so the was Tom and Tom, we were playing on to Ain't That Good News, the Sam Cooke song. So that was the opener. And I was on one side of the stage there, close to on the right-hand side. The guitarist was on the other side, Tom was in the middle, and Chris on drums at the back. Chris Slade, and then the orchestra was in the orchestra. And because of the lights, you couldn't see very far. You know, it was only just a few feet from, it was all dazzling as it is on stage. And so I'm playing away there, and I'm looking around to see if I could see Elvis. And you know, big auditorium there, and I couldn't see him at all, you know. I'm trying not to be nonchalant, you know, playing away there, but inside we were all edgy. And anyway, a couple of numbers later, I just happened to look down off the stage right in front of me, you know, through the lights, and they were on this table. You know, like couldn't see the forest for trees sort of thing. He was on this big round table, and the entourage there, and he was sat there smoking a cheroot. But they were all there in a circle. Because they had crept in after the lights had gone down, no one really knew they were there. You know, because they were all on the stage then, might as well, things were going on. So anyway, we went through the act, and halfway through, it was time to introduce Elvis, of course, Tom. So he said, "Look, we have here a gentleman who I've admired, words to that effect, for a long time, inspired me with music, etc., etc. And he's here tonight. He said, Elvis Presley. And everything went berserk in there, you know, everywhere, the roof, nearly hit the roof off, screaming and shouting, and it was still in darkness. And all of a sudden there was this, like a helicopter light, which was quite a novel idea back then, you know, with a light going around like that, searchlight, like a searchlight going right around the auditorium, and all this screaming and, you know, really loud, and sort of milking the audience, you know, sort of thing, and teasing them. So this went on, and they were waiting for it to go like that, and it was mayhem there. And all of a sudden, it went wham on the table there, and came back in this big blue light, you know, surrounding it. It was like really something out of a film. Sort of stood up and did like it was framed, and it was incredible. And so Elvis, of course, bowing, you know, and things like that, and it just went on and on and on and on for minute after minute. So we were on the stage, orchestra behind, sort of going, you know, with the band there, you know, waiting to come off, and because they'd seen it all before, even not Elvis, but you know, all the stars and the house band. So anyway, it went on for, I would say, about 3 minutes. It's a long time, you know, for cheering and clapping and things like that, and Elvis bowing. So anyway, Tom looked across at me, and he was getting a bit edgy then, because we want to get on with the show, stop it. So I went sort of like that to my hook, like to cut it. So only we went. I'll never forget. He went, now hold on, everybody, hold on, calm down. Don't forget, I'm the star tonight. Tom was just in the corner there with Elvis in animated conversation with him, and so. I think Red West was Elvis's schoolboy friend and looked after him. He introduced us to Priscilla, and she was sitting there and, you know, sort of shook hands. Her face was alabaster white, you know, but then with this black hair, jet black hair, it made it even look whiter. So that was it. We introduced her, and, you know, and waiting then to be introduced to Elvis. And this went on for quite a while, because Elvis and Tom were, you know, talking about this and that, yeah. So I caught Tom's eye, and I went, you know, and the place was full of smoke and everything then, because everybody was smoking and this, that, and the other those days. And but it was a lot of atmosphere there. And so Tom beckoned me over then, you know, and he said, this is Vernon, my bass player, you know, we've been together right from the very beginning in South Wales. Oh, and I was pleased to meet you, Vernon. You know, I was pleased to meet you, Elvis. And shook hands, and he said, man, he said, I like that bass run in the middle of, in the front of, beginning of Land of a Thousand Dances, which went like, you know, boom, 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 boom. And I said, you know, thanks very much. And then, as I remember then, he said, and scratching his head, he said, I can't win, you know. He said, but I've ordered all this this gear I'm wearing from Carnaby Street in London, because I knew you guys were English and Squires, and I thought myself, you know, Tom the Squires and everything like that, and you'd be dressed like all mod and everything, and here you are, you're in here with t-shirts and sneakers and looking all American. And he said, man, I can't win, you know, and things like that. June 1964, when we arrived in London, and then Not Unusual was released in January, but we weren't on it. Although we were a great band and everything like that, Gordon said, no, you know, we can have a big orchestra and that, which we were really disappointed in, because we were a red hot band and we've been together all the time. But don't worry, you'll be okay, you know, we'll, everybody get a square deal and this, that and the other. At face anyway. Not Unusual went to number one, and we were put on £20 a week as a backing band, which was really bad deal. He believed in Tom, really, obviously, because right from the beginning, when we went up to London, it was all for one and one for all, you know, 5 fingers on one hand and everything. But eventually then we realized that Gordon Mills was really wanted Tom, and we all thought we'd be together with the record, but that didn't materialize. But we thought we're still gonna be all right, because, but then ruthlessly Gordon Mills said, no, go back home to Wales if you don't like it. You get £20 a week, which was, you know, about the same amount as you get a plumber would get in. But within a year, Gordon and Tom were millionaires, Rolls Royces and all these sports cars and all. And we were in digs on this £20 a week. 1968, we were in Bournemouth in the Winter Gardens. And I'll never forget this as well, because again, you know, what would happen was when he'd introduce the band, he'd also say, and here's my backing band, you know, the Squires, Vernon on bass, Chris Slade on drums. But that went off just saying, this is the Squires, and stopped introducing us. Because we were being on television, we were known, you know, we were signing autographs and doing all the things like that. We were stars, but we were skint stars. And so when he introduced us on this particular night in the Winter Gardens, he said, and here's my band, you know, Squires. I'll give him a hand, you know, oh, you know, band, clapping like that. And then he said, oh, don't clap too loud because they want to raise any money. Oh, and that did it for us. It was like all the comradeship and everything like that. It was just sickening after that. It was really bad. I mean, why would he do it? I don't know. It's show business, you change and everything, change it does change you, but to a degree, but not to that. I can't get it together with him, you know. After, you know, we were brought up together from the same village, and to do that, it was just sad. Well, after we finished, and ceremoniously, without a week's wages, we only found out about it in a newspaper that Tom Jones and the Squires amicable split, and I was in right across the middle pages of the Daily Mirror. Nobody knew about it. We had to find out in newspapers. We were left in the gutter, literally, and for a year I was in the wilderness in a very dark place, with no money, and I was living in a pub, in a box room in a pub. And that was opposite on the river Thames, because that's where we all were in. And then I could practically see Tom's house on St. George's Hill across the river. This massive mansion, you know, with an Olympic-sized pool and everything like that. And I'm in this little digs up there, you know, and with nothing now, only my little suitcase that I came to London with. And that's all I was left with, that small suitcase. And I thought, Tom, one day the truth will come out, you know. I remember saying that, you know, you won't brush this in the carpet. We were too big, the band. And so that went on for years, and I forgot about it. I carried on with my life. I worked with other people then, other musicians. Leapy Lee, who had a big hit in America with Little Arrows. Then I worked with Malcolm Roberts, and things lifted. I was wealthy compared to being skint all that time I was with Tom. And I got married. We were doing big shows, cabaret, and a bit of television with my wife and everything, as a duo. Moved from our first little flat to Shepperton, which is not far away from Sunbury, to Shepperton. And probably when we moved in, electricity was off. And the water and everything was off. The next door neighbour popped his head over the fence with a bowl of water. And he said, thanks very much, you know, he's a lovely gentleman. So eventually we found out that it was no other than J.G. Ballard, who had written Empire of the Sun and turned it into a massive film, and you know, a huge author. But he didn't mention, we didn't know for months afterwards. And I was there for 23 years as a next door neighbour. You always say, Vernon, you know, he knew the history of the band and Tom and what we went through. He said, you have a book inside your head. You should let it loose, be liberated. It's there, you know. All these stories of your life, your career, and who you've met, and all around the world, and also, and what you went through, and it's a fantastic book there. You must do it. I had a phone call from the BBC drama department, television, and saying, look, we're thinking of making a big drama about Tom Jones and the Squires and the rise to stardom, the lean years and everything. Would you be interested in it? And I said, yeah, but they said, we want to have actors to play your part. And I thought, bring it on, you know. At least we'd get the cat would be out the bag now by now. And I hadn't written a book or done anything. So Anyway, they sent this guy over with to video me and my mannerisms, my speech and everything, so they could do it with the actors. And then the crunch came then, and he said, well, we want to get in touch with the rest of the band now. Where are they? And I don't know, here we go. I said, well, one of them has passed away, Mickey G. They said, where is Chris Slade, the drummer? And I said, well, I know he went to America. I think he's with Asia now, you know. Where is Dave Cooper? And I said, well, after, you know, we got disbanded, he was sickened of living in the same country as Tom Jones, breathing the same air as Gordon Mills. So we emigrated to South Africa, and I've never heard of him since. They decided then, they said, well, look, we're going to shelve it for the moment because we can't, you know. So that was it. I know that Jim Ballard had been telling me to write this book, and I was always thinking about never doing it. I thought, well, look, I know all the mannerisms of the band. I know I was a fly on the wall. I was there in the thick of it all. What I wanted to do as a drama, I knew everything. So I thought, I'll write the book. You know, I'll write my memoirs. And then maybe they'll make a drama from the memoirs because all their that adds mannerisms and what they went through and the height and the this and that, which is all in the book now, you know, the whole story is there, would be there. It's like a film itself. So that started me off, and I took a year. My family didn't see me, and it just flowed out of me. And perhaps it's because I've been a songwriter, you know, all those years, and it was easier to get the words out. And I've been working on a newspaper. I hadn't never written a book before, but it just came out, and that was it.